Long ago, in the land of Uz, there lived a man named Job. He was not like most people. Job was honest, kind, and feared God. He always stayed away from doing anything wrong. People in the village respected him, and his name was known far and wide. Job was a man of great wealth. He owned thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, and donkeys. He had many servants, and his farm was always busy with work. But more than all his riches, Job had something even more precious, a big, loving family. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. They were strong, healthy, and joyful. The children often held feasts, taking turns to host each other. After every celebration, Job would wake up early the next morning to pray for them. He would offer sacrifices just in case any of them had done wrong or sinned in their hearts. Job loved his children deeply and always brought them before God in prayer. "Dear God," Job would whisper, kneeling on the ground, "please forgive my children if they have done anything wrong. Keep them safe, Lord." Job's life seemed perfect. But something was happening in a place that Job could not see, in heaven. One day, when the angels came to present themselves before God, Satan also came with them. The Lord asked him, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered, "I've been walking around the earth, going back and forth." Then the Lord said something that would change Job's life forever. "Have you seen my servant Job? There is no one like him. He is faithful, honest, and turns away from evil." Satan laughed. "Of course he is. You've protected him. You've blessed everything he does. He's rich, and he has a happy family. But take it all away, and he'll curse you to your face." The Lord replied, "Very well then. Everything he has is in your hands, but do not touch the man himself." And just like that, trouble began to form, slowly, like dark clouds building in the sky. Far away, unaware of this heavenly conversation, Job woke up as he always did. The sun was rising over the hills, birds were singing, and the day seemed normal. But what Job didn't know was that this would be the last peaceful morning for a long, long time. Trouble was coming. And Job's faith would soon be tested in a way no one could imagine. The sky was clear, the sun warm, and everything seemed normal on Job's land. His workers were busy in the fields. His children were laughing in the home of his oldest son, sharing food, talking joyfully. But above this peace, an invisible storm was gathering. Job was sitting under a tree, reading the Holy Scrolls, when a servant came running, his face pale, his robe torn, his breath short. "Master!" The oxen were plowing and the donkeys grazing nearby when raiders came. "They killed all the workers, only I escaped to tell you." Job stood up quickly, his heart pounding. But before he could speak, another servant rushed in, his voice shaking. Fire fell from the sky. It burned all the sheep and the shepherds. "Everything is gone. I alone escaped to tell you." Job's hands trembled. His eyes filled with shock, but he remained silent. Then a third servant arrived, covered in dust. "Master!" 3 bands of raiders attacked the camels and carried them away. They killed the servants. I'm the only one who escaped. Job's heart ached. His wealth, gone. His workers, dead. But the worst was yet to come. As Job fell to his knees, a 4th servant came running. Tears streamed down his face. "Master," the servant choked, struggling to say the words. "Your sons and daughters, they were feasting. A great wind came from the desert. It struck the house. The whole building collapsed. All your children are dead. I alone survived." For a moment, time stopped. Job's mouth fell open. No sound came out. The pain hit him like a sword to the heart. His children, his joy, his prayers, his love, they were gone. He didn't shout. He didn't blame. Instead, Job tore his robe, a sign of deep sorrow, and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground, not in anger, but in worship. Through tears, he whispered, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Though everything he loved was taken from him, Job did not sin. He did not blame God. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Job sat in silence. The farm was quiet. No laughter, no music, only the wind, and the sound of a grieving man who still trusted in God. In heaven, God watched, and Satan was surprised. Even in the deepest sorrow, Job had not turned away from his faith. But the test was not yet over. More suffering would come, and Job's strength would be pushed even further. Job was sitting alone in ashes, silent and heartbroken. He had lost everything: his wealth, his workers, his home, and most painful of all, his children. Yet, his heart still held on to God. But Satan was not done. He went again before God and said, "Job still trusts you only because he has his health. Take that away, and he will curse you to your face." And God said, "You may touch his body, but do not take his life." Then, painful sores broke out all over Job's body. From the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, his skin burned, itched, and cracked. He sat on the ground, scraping himself with a piece of broken pottery, trying to ease the pain. His once strong hands were now weak. His proud posture was now bent in misery. His wife stood nearby, watching him suffer. She whispered angrily, "Are you still holding on to your faith? Curse God and die." But Job turned to her gently and said, "You speak like someone who does not know God. Should we accept only good from God and not trouble too?" Though his heart was crushed and his body broken, Job still did not sin. He did not curse God. Days passed. Then 3 of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard what had happened. They traveled from far away to comfort him. But when they saw Job, they could not believe their eyes. He was so changed, so sick, so sorrowful that they wept loudly. They sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word. They just sat in silence because they saw how deep Job's pain was. Job's eyes were tired. His body was weak. His mind was heavy with sorrow. On the 7th day, he finally opened his mouth. "I wish I had never been born," Job said. "I wish I had died at birth. Why is life given to those who suffer so much?" His friends listened, unsure of what to say. The strong man they once knew was now broken and questioning everything. And though Job never turned away from God, his heart was full of questions. Questions like, "Why me, Lord? What did I do wrong? Why do the wicked live in peace while I suffer?" And yet, through it all, one thing remained. Job still believed that God was real, even if he didn't understand why things were happening. In the middle of deep pain, Job cried out, but he cried out to God, not against him. His friends would soon try to explain his suffering, but their words would only bring more confusion. The real answer would come later, and it would not just be an answer, but a deeper understanding of who God truly is. Job sat in the dust, covered in sores and pain, his heart heavy with grief. His 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, broke their silence. They could not understand why Job was suffering. And so, one by one, they began to speak, but instead of comforting him, they started accusing him. "Job," Eliphaz began, "you must have sinned. No one suffers this much without doing something wrong. Think hard. What did you do to make God angry?" Job shook his head slowly. "I have done nothing evil," he said. "I've helped the poor, fed the hungry, and cared for the widows. I've always feared God." Bildad spoke next. "If your children died, maybe they sinned too. God is just. He punishes only those who deserve it." Zophar added, "Stop pretending you're innocent. If you truly feared God, you would admit your sin." Their words pierced Job's heart like sharp knives. "I have done nothing to deserve this," Job said through tears. "Why has God allowed this pain? I cry to him, but he does not answer. I look for him, but I cannot find him." Job's voice cracked as he looked toward the sky. "I miss the days when God was close to me, when I walked in his light and my children surrounded me. But now, everyone laughs at me. Even servants look down on me. I am nothing to them." Still, Job did not turn away from God. Instead, he poured out his heart in honest pain. He begged for an answer. He longed for a voice, a sign, anything. But heaven was silent. His friends kept talking. They tried to explain suffering with human logic. But they did not see the full picture. They didn't know that Job's suffering was not punishment, it was a test of faith. And while God had not answered yet, he was watching, listening, and waiting for the right time. A younger man named Elihu had been listening quietly. When the others finished speaking, he stood and said, "You all think you're wise, but none of you have spoken rightly about God. Job, you say God is silent, but maybe he speaks in ways we don't understand. Maybe suffering isn't always punishment. Maybe it's a way God teaches or humbles us." Job looked up, his eyes tired but still searching. If only I could speak to God. If only he would answer me. The wind blew softly across the land. The sky darkened. And from the storm, a voice was coming. The wind grew louder. Dust swirled in the air. The sky darkened like a heavy cloud had covered the sun. Job stood slowly, his weak body trembling. His friends stepped back, their faces full of fear. Then it happened. A deep voice came from the storm. It was not angry. It was not soft. It was powerful, full of wisdom and mystery. It was the voice of God. "Who is this," the Lord said, "that speaks without knowledge? Prepare yourself like a man, Job. I will ask you questions, and you shall answer me." Job fell to his knees. God continued, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you understand. Who marked off its size? Who stretched a line across it? Have you ever commanded the morning or told the sun where to rise?" Job's eyes widened. He was silent. He couldn't answer. "Have you entered the storehouses of snow?" God asked. "Do you know where I keep the thunder and lightning? Can you guide the stars or send rain on a dry land where no one lives?" Each question showed how small man is, and how great God is. God wasn't punishing Job, he was showing him something deeper, that his wisdom is far beyond human understanding. Job listened, overwhelmed. He had wanted answers, but now, he saw that God didn't owe him explanations. What he really needed was to trust. Then Job spoke. "I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. I take back my words. I sit in dust and ashes in repentance." God was pleased with Job, not because he had all the answers, but because even in pain, Job had kept his heart turned toward him. Job was honest in his questions. He cried out, but he never walked away. Then God turned to Job's 3 friends. "You have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has," he said. "Take 7 bulls and 7 rams. Go to Job and offer a sacrifice. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will forgive you." The friends were shocked. The man they had judged was now the one praying for them. They did as God commanded. And Job, with a heart full of grace, forgave them and prayed for them. It was the beginning of restoration. God had spoken. Job had seen the greatness of the Lord with his own heart. And everything was about to change. The skies had cleared. The storm was gone. The voice of God had faded, but its echo remained deep in Job's heart. Job stood taller now, not because his pain had ended, but because his spirit had grown stronger. He had seen God not with his eyes, but with his soul. As Job prayed for his friends, something beautiful happened. His heart, once full of grief, began to heal. And then, God restored Job's life. Not just a little. Twice as much as he had before. God blessed the end of Job's life more than the beginning. His wealth was returned and multiplied. Flocks, herds, servants, and land. Friends and family who had once stayed away now returned to comfort him. They brought gifts, and they sat with him, no longer accusing, but honoring. Job had more children, 7 sons, and 3 beautiful daughters. He gave his daughters equal inheritance with their brothers, something rare in those days, showing how much he valued them. Job lived 140 more years. He saw his children, his grandchildren, and their children too. And he died old and full of days, his life complete, his faith unshaken. But the true treasure was not the sheep or silver. The true treasure was what Job gained in his heart, a deeper trust in God, a stronger spirit. and a faith that could not be broken by any storm. Moral of the story. A word from the heart, friend. Maybe you've been through a season like Job. Maybe you've lost something or someone. Maybe you've prayed, and the answer didn't come. Maybe life has felt unfair. But here's the truth. God sees you. God hears you. And God has not forgotten you. Job teaches us that life won't always be easy. Bad things can happen to good people. But that doesn't mean God has left us. Sometimes, the silence of heaven is not a punishment. It's a test of trust. And in the waiting, in the wondering, we grow. Even when Job didn't understand what was happening, he chose not to walk away from God. He cried. He questioned. But he stayed. And God honored that faith. So today, no matter what you're going through, I want to encourage you. Be patient, even when life is hard. Be honest with God. He can handle your tears. Keep trusting, because your storm will not last forever. God may not give you answers right away, but He will always give you His presence. And in the end, your faith will shine brighter than gold.